FM every Monday 11 a.m. to 12 noon for Words Matter. Communication for joyful workplaces. Dr. Madonna will help you unlock the secret power of words for your financial, relationship, and physical well-being. Whether you work at home, on the road, or in an organization, join Dr. Madonna every Monday 11 a.m. to 12 noon for Words Matter. Communication for joyful workplaces.
Good morning. I am Dr. Madonna. How are you? Pastor Google. It is morning in Trinidad and Tobago, and I'm not sure where our listeners and viewers on the platform are hailing from, but we need to tell them hello, good afternoon, good morning. How are you, Pastor Google?
I am blessed. I am really grateful for life.
Yes.
I would have had to bury one of my good friends on Friday. A brother who I would have grown up with and had a very good relationship with, really good relationship with, and he passed away, kidney failure and stuff like that. So,
He transitioned into eternity.
yeah, but thank God,
That we have the breath of life. Eh?
Yeah,
Things that we, perhaps take for granted that we shouldn't.
And we do take for granted.
Yeah.
We do take it for granted from time to time. We behave as though we're entitled.
Yes, I have a girlfriend who had a challenge with breathing, and it's so scary because you go to bed and you don't know if she'll die in her sleep or something like that. So I learned to value the next breath. The breath of life is a gift from God. So, yeah. Lovely. So, I want to focus on something, with the U.S. elections and the U.S. elections results
Let me take off
from
the
a
mic.
perspective of leadership and communication. There are some insights there that I want to put for our conversation today around Words Matter, the implications of the U.S., the presidency of the president-elect Donald Trump and the campaign and the implications of his communication style and leadership style. And let's see if we can distill some insights, regardless of which part of the aisle you're operating from. What and this is what I hope I want to leave with you, my listeners and callers and so on. It could be hard to swallow that you can learn from people with whom you do not share the same values and so on. But as mature persons, we want to see what we can learn. And again, whatever side of the aisle you're on, what are some of the insights that we could take into our lives personally and professionally? Remember, words matter. And as we navigate life because of our business, you have to engage with bankers, you've got to engage with supervisors, people from all levels of all walks of life and all situations. And communication is that essential process, that lifeblood that we need. In one of my books, I was talking about it as a digestive system. And how can we extract from the U.S. President-elect Donald Trump? How can we extract communication lessons, leadership lessons, and insights from him that we can take on board for our personal and business success? So there were a couple of articles that I found quite interesting that I want to share some of the insights with you. One is from the BBC, and it talks about taking a deep dive into his communication style and impact. And let us, reflect. The article says one of the hallmarks of Trump's communication is his informal and conversational tone. You have having a conversation regardless of the size of the crowd or the forum. The tone is conversational and informal. And the article says this approach makes him relatable to many of his followers who appreciate that, right? He also engages in what you call repetition. And repetition is an interesting technique. We talk about it as repetition for reinforcement. You repeat a message, reinforcing your key points so that they resonate. It becomes almost second nature. They hear it over and over again so that it's a talking point. You can share it, you can remember it, you can relate to it. So that technique, about those techniques being informal, being conversational, I'm using repetition, help those techniques help to drill down the message and allow him to relate and for people to remember and share the message. Right? Pastor, right, that's one thing. And I've shared with our audiences that when we do training in public speaking and presentation skills, we talk about and we share these techniques: repetition for reinforcement, a conversational style and tone, so that you can connect. You could connect at an emotional level. You can connect at what we call the cognitive level. You're connecting with your heart. You're connecting practically. You're connecting with emotions, right? So the style. So we want to extract from President-elect Donald Trump his elements of the communication style that we could take on board. So, for example, we've done some work with credit unions, and this is the time where credit unions make their most money. This is the last quarter of the year. These all these Christmas sales, and a lot of persons actually, whether it is bank and so on, this is the time where the dollars are rolling in. And of course, how do you persuade persons to take a loan? How do you persuade persons to and buy a car, groceries, go the extra mile? Communication. And the first set of things, repeating the message repetition for reinforcement, whether you're using social media, using traditional media, face-to-face, right? And being informal and conversational. So we want to distill that from US President Donald Trump. There's another thing about, there are some other elements, communication elements that we can draw on. Directness and simplicity. And I'm pulling this from a BBC article, right? Directness and simplicity. And when I read that, I thought of, in fact, don't get me wrong, I'm not comparing Trump to Jesus. Please, 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 please. But I know Jesus went into the highways and the byways and the, as the Jamaicans say, them ordinary people. And Jesus was a pariah among the religious elite. But that relatability, that directness and simplicity, Jesus used it to his advantage. And the use of parables and stories, I really found it fascinating. Well, I study Jesus more than I study Trump. Right? I study Jesus, and I find it very fascinating that the God of all wisdom could break down these complex concepts into stories and relate to fishermen. Cha-cha-cha, right? So directness and simplicity are hallmarks of good public speaking, of good communication. And sometimes I do get myself torn up in some of the language and think too. I have to learn too, right? Depending on, who your audience is, to be direct and simple, right? So we extract in some of these hallmarks. And then, something is the themes, a compelling theme, a compelling narrative. Every time Trump speaks, you're going to hear these themes. And this is something, it's like branding yourself, right? And where people know you, people know me as communication, people know you, Pastor Google, as what? Right? So from the time they see you and they hear you, that's your expertise. So those are the themes that come from you in whatever fora you are. So those themes become how people recognize you. And what Trump did, those themes became like a rallying cry, appealing to the instinct of his followers. There's some, I you know, when I analyzed many of his messages, even from the first term, I I saw how error could be amplified in social media. Now, people blame social media, but I say all technology is neutral, is values neutral, is how you use it. And what you found with the how prevalent social media is, the approach that U.S. President Trump used in in mastering or leveraging the platform is quite telling. Now, some of us who are more introverted than others, you know, you say, I'm not into that and so on. But what happened is that his messages, whether truth or untruth, were amplified by the social media because people tend to gravitate towards bad news. People tend to gravitate towards gossip. People tend to gravitate towards unverifiable information because it's so juicy. And then you spread it. So here you have a platform that is accessible to everybody throughout the world. WhatsApp and so on. And a political contender now, the US president, who leveraged the platform for his advantage. And in many instances, truth was discarded. So it's a risk, really. And we can, it's to leverage social media. And again, social media is values free. So leveraging social media for your interests, something that he did successfully. Oh, right. Now, the BBC article says, and in analyzing how he used social media, there's a conclusion they came to. It said this aspect of his messaging underscores the importance of responsible communication in leadership. Because a lot of people, you know, because for whatever personal psychological reasons, have idolized the US president, but there are voices that are saying responsible communication is a hallmark of good leadership. And they're saying that the effects of President Trump's messaging on political discourse is still unfolding. And why is that? You look at some of the leaders in Europe, for example, and in some Latin American countries that are modeling that style of communication for personal aggrandizement, for legitimizing some approaches. And the BBC was sounding the alarm and pointing out that there are existing and long-term effects on the political discourse due to the approaches that US President Donald Trump uses. We look at our local landscape and begin to ask ourselves, who are the people mirroring this type of communication, where in some instances truth is sacrificed, right? The BBC article says that Trump's presidency has prompted a shift, significant shift. The last time I spoke about a tectonic shift below the surface, significant shift in communication norms, right? So you have people who are saying, but wait a minute. Other politicians are saying, both local and international, saying, wait a minute. The US president did this and he got away with that and he got a second term. And it emboldens persons, right? So with wisdom, we have to be able to discern and dissect. I saw on, it may have been a TikTok video, a young boy saying and lamenting that you parents told us not to lie. You told us about truth and so on, right? And therefore, we have to reflect on the legacy that we're leaving for the next generation. And even as we take a bird's eye view about the communication style of U.S. President Donald Trump, what, as wise people, what can you sift that could work for you, and what can you get rid of as chaff? Long time they used to sift rice. I don't know if you're old enough to remember. The old people used to sift rice, and they would have a tray of the rice, and the rice that has passed the darkened colored, I don't know if they call rotten rice, they would remove those, and you leave with clean rice. That skill of sifting intellectually, sifting spiritually, sifting wisely is what is required when we engage in assessing President Trump's communication and leadership style. What can you adopt? What can we adopt for our own advantage, and that we are comfortable saying this is a good legacy for my children, or for the generations of politicians if they want to lead a country with integrity? What can we sift through, and what can we discard? It requires wisdom. It requires knowledge. It requires sober thinking. And later on, I'll talk about that reflective leadership conversations webinar that I'm having later on in this month. But this is what is required in these times, where, as the BBC says, the trend, the Donald Trump's presidency and his style, it raises questions about the future of political discourse in the country. Right? So that I want to put center stage some of the techniques that President Donald Trump, communication techniques that he's employed. How can we sift through and pull out some useful approaches and techniques and strategies that can work to our advantage, and what do we need to discard? Call me 342. I'll ask Pastor Google to open up the lines, and Pastor Google, you can weigh in on this thing too. 342-0081, 342-0081, or 4665391, 4665391. Call in and let's have a conversation. I've laid the foundation about his communication style and some of the communication techniques that are important for personal branding, for us to get ahead, for us to have success. But I'm inviting us to sift through the techniques and see what can work for and against us at a personal level, at a societal level, at business levels. Do we have a caller?
Yes, we do. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Pastor Rule and Miss Madonna Doyle.
Aha, somebody knows me.
One of President-elect Trump policies, he declared that there is no gender as an other. He was very distinct in claiming that it's male and female, no gender as other. Understand?
Yes, yes.
So, he just banned the statement other putting into gender. He was very distinct on male and female. Right?
So some clarity, and what you're saying is that he's not compromising. This is what you're saying?
Definitely so.
Got you. So, anything else you'd like to add?
No. That's all for now.
Thank you so very much, caller. I think the caller was talking also about another level of belief and not compromising belief or perspective, right? Yeah. I know there's a popular narrative around gender identity, and I think the caller was pointing out how President-elect Trump is unbending with respect to that. Thank you, caller.
There's this song that they did. There's this song bite that they did from something he said. I don't know if you want to hear it.
Which
in
one?
Springfield, they're eating.
That's another thing.
People that came in.
That opens up. That opens up another conversation, right? Wait, just now, later on. You know, the thing is, and we come back to repetition, we come back to the clips that he uses that really make for retweeting, that makes for dissemination. And we spoke about that earlier. Let me just go up, because these quips, these and in lies, half-truths, innuendos, another politician had coined that phrase. But it resonates with people. And then it's amplified on the media. So look at the process. A disregard for truth, but it appeals to people. You use the platforms that are readily available. It's these small quips. They are memorable, and they can be amplified and shared. So when he repeated a bit of gossip, using the platform, it was a little quip. It's like long time they had these magazines where, you know, they just amplified error. And now you have these musicians now who could turn that, it's turned into memes, it's turned into dances, yes? And people forget that it is a lie. But it's catchy, it's relatable, we can spread it, we can dance to it, right? And it resonates with something inside of people that may not be truth, right? So the techniques I'm trying to distill, the techniques, the communication techniques, 3420081, 3420081, or 4665391. And I'm asking our callers, we've got to be wise in this era of post-truth. It's called the post-truth era. How do we communicate the essential, how that truth is essential? How are we going to communicate that to our children? What legacy are we leaving? So I think it's a scary time. But even, I'm saying, what can we distill, right? What do we need to throw away? What do we need to keep?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Pastor Lugo. Ms. Doyle, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
And thank you for having this conversation.
Thank you.
Because I say democracy is under attack. And I've been singing that before the election. Because of, and I wouldn't even use AI as yet, because of data analytica. And what data analytica was able to get individual information from each of us. And use AI to understand how to create fiction to make it seem truth, and how to spin the truth. And now that they have done that excellently, just using Trump as one example. And the same thing is happening right here. I have an incident where the Auditor General went all the way to the Privy Council, and it's giving the impression like if people are calling on the ministers to resign because of the way they're spinning the level of disinformation. And my question is, how do you come back? Because when you say something and it's the truth, you have 4 different persons coming at you with 4 different angles and trying to spin it in a way to make it seem as though what you're saying doesn't make sense. It's hard now because a person now phone in the hand is now no more called a phone. So when you ask them something, I'm going to my smartphone. So I am no longer smart. The device that I invented, I have put that in front of my own level of intelligence. And my own level of being able to use my brain to disseminate. Does this make sense? Look at something else and figure out and compare. We don't even have the ability to compare and reason the comparison. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Between right and left to understand where truth is and where wrong is and where right is. Human being somewhere along the line has lost that and only looking for somebody to tell you something, and you move along in that direction. We have now become like ants.
But even ants have wisdom, you know.
Yeah, but in order to build something, but we ain't building nothing. What we are building, look at simply at, because of Trump winning the election, the 3 or 4 richest men in the whole world has grown within that short period of time. Boom, Elon Musk money has grown more than anybody else. And nobody can explain to me why.
Hi, caller, thanks.
You're welcome.
I want to add on to what you said. You opened up by saying democracy is under attack. I say truth is under attack. And later on, you amplified it that many persons have lost the ability to discern, to reason, to compare. And their innate God-given wisdom now being abandoned for the smartphone, smart device. But on the device, remember, the device is values free. It is what people upload, the content they upload on the platforms, on the devices, right? So and then you ask about, how do we counter that? And we come to the gatekeepers, you know, we have to drill right down to gatekeepers. If, for example, media practitioners don't study, don't empower people to know right from wrong, truth from error, right? And media practitioners become part of the problem, and they were supposed to be gatekeepers and to act as checks and balances on the other institutions. That's just one example. All right, we have another caller.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning to you, Pastor Google.
Hi, morning.
And good morning to Dr. Madonna Doyle.
How are you, my dearest?
I go back to the old adage, you can fool some of the people some of the time, but not all the people all of the time. Now, you see this fooling and this manipulation of truth and so on, as the little boy said, it is going to have a backlash that is going to be so severe. I don't know how the other generation coming is going to deal with it. The little boy, that little boy, you know, the Bible talk about out of the mouth of babes
And sucklings.
Wisdom will come.
Yes.
He has wisdom in his little age. So that is what the backlash of that.
Yes.
Finally, when you have lies and as you know, one former prime minister said, have truths and innuendos.
Yes.
When you start to decipher and realize, well, wait now, we get take here, we got taken. How long it is going to take you to recover from that?
Yeah.
So you have so it needs people like your good self, wise people to say, look, take another look, listen.
Yes.
Go and, you know, I don't want to say emasculate, but go and dissect and go down into the nitty-gritty of what is being said.
Yeah.
Pay attention. And the media has really lost its way. People have become lazy, as you talk about the smartphone. They no longer have critical thinking. They no longer think. We are so lazy. It's easy to just have the so-called smartphone and just run with things. So there's a lot of things inside of it. Thank you, my dearie.
Thank you so very much.
So very much.
So we're going for a break and come right back. Don't touch your dial, Trinidad and Tobago.
Foundation for Healing Conversations is a Christian faith community transforming lives through healing conversations. The foundation is currently engaged in transforming the community of Embarcadero in San Fernando. We are working with young men 17 years and over, equipping them with entrepreneurial skills, agriculture, spiritual and attitudinal mindset shifts. To partner with us and experience community transformation at its finest, visit our Facebook page, the Foundation for Healing Conversations, or call us on 398-5013 and become a member of the Foundation for Healing Conversations. I am Dr. Madonna, and I approve this message. Thank you, and I want to invite you to an upcoming webinar that our company we're hosting on the 21st of this month. It's a free webinar, and it's called reflective leadership conversations. And the skill, so for example, you may be a supervisor, and all our calls will say or expressing concern about what will happen to the next generation if information is not checked for truthfulness. How do we engage or in critical thinking and empower and equip the other generation to engage in critical thinking for sifting through information for what is propaganda, what is truth, what is incorrect, what is half-truths and innuendos and so on. This webinar on reflective leadership conversations, we're particularly targeting persons who are in positions of influence. You could be a supervisor, you could be a pastor, you could be a teacher. And you have to influence other persons, but you know, or you owe it to yourself to engage, to reflect on the whole information, dump of information, and guide persons that you lead to make informed decisions that are in alignment with your core values, and those values that can never change: truth, decency. Yeah. So how do you have a vision or a mission for your organization, and people are bombarded on all sides? As a leader, one of the emergent challenges is to engage in reflective leadership conversations. Reflect. And, you know, in secondary schools, and well, I could tell you from my children's experience, that they do help them discern what sources of information to access, what sources of information are credible, and so on. And that's very good, so that they know they can't depend on Wikipedia, for example, for truth, because they understand how Wikipedia is constructed. But many people have not been exposed to that teaching. And many persons, and in addition to, let's say, Wikipedia and data sources, there are other factors and other sources of information that people perhaps take it as gospel because of the mouths it came from, and they run with that. Reflective Leadership Conversations is a webinar we're asking you to attend if you're in a position to influence other persons, like you, Pastor Google. And how do we reflect on reality? What are the skills that are required to reflect on your context, reflect on reality, and help the people that you influence to make sense out of it? So on our website, just madonnadoyle.com, you click on that and you can register for our free webinar. It's a 1-hour webinar, and we're looking to attract persons locally, regionally, and internationally. And just join us. Register for that free webinar Thursday the 21st from 7:30 p.m. Our local time. All right? So that's something I would like you to attend to. And let's help with this kind of situation we find ourselves in. We have a caller.
Yeah, we have two callers. Hello,
Hi,
good
sorry.
Hello, good morning.
What a nice program you have.
Thank you.
And I'm listening, but I would like to listen to Donald Trump. I listened to something last night, and the media was asking the black people, the black young fellas in the neighborhood, why you vote Trump? You know, because they say, oh, Obama didn't do nothing for us, and when the woman named Kamala Harris lock up plenty black people. So these young African fellas that they candidate is left in the hood, who don't never drop out of school and never get the opportunity of reading. So they use them. So Donald Trump was so pretty smart. He's going to the black community where he knows the black youth are depressed and they don't read, and he said he will help them. He will do plenty for them, which is not that, which is realized, because we never to do. He's making sure that the police get immunity from prostitution. Like you say, police will treat you. They cannot bring them up. So you see, he's targeting.
Hi, caller.
Yes.
And you know what I'd like you to do? Just reflect on why his message appealed, right, to, as you said, young black men. What about it? What's the content of the message, the structure of the message? What were the techniques he used to make his message so appealing? And this is where I want us to drill down, because if we could do that, then we could guide other people that we have influence over. If we could spend time thinking and reflecting what elements of his message, is it that he keeps on repeating it? Is it that he makes it simple? You know, what is it? Is it that he appeals to the emotional? Is it does he appeal to lack, to ignorance? What are the techniques, the communication techniques that have worked for him that we can hold on to? So if I could get us to do that, I would be happy.
Yes, well, before I go,
Yeah.
These are the emotions of young black people.
The emotional connection.
Emotional connection. Taking that this one and he will do better. So he continues to play it all the time, make it look like it's real. And
as you wrap up, I like the point, the emotional connection, but also ignorance, right? Because I mean, you're sitting waiting for somebody to do something for you, not knowing how the economy works, not knowing how our business works. So I thank you for putting that out there. Yeah. And I would also want us to, and I'm glad you share that, for us to reflect. And that's why this webinar, Reflective Leadership Conversation, is so important, right? Because as you said, he appealed to the emotional side and the ignorance about how the system works. Thank you very much, caller. We have a second caller?
Yes, let's take this one. All right. Hello, good afternoon. Good morning, sorry. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Hi.
Good morning.
You're sounding very soft.
Yeah, and I'm hearing are you hearing me now?
Better, it's better.
It's a little better.
Okay. Very good show, and I wanted to ask Dr. Madonna. I heard you speaking about truth and discerning things. Are you hearing?
Yes, I am.
But could you give me a definition of truth?
Caller, what's a definition?
I heard you. Continue.
That's the definition of truth. What
question?
What is the meaning of
Hello?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. That is a very good question, caller. And it's both philosophical because you're tapping into whether truth, the concept of truth, is subjective or objective. Because truth has a number of components. The factual component, and let me. There's a factual component in respect of data or experiences that are verifiable through the five senses. But that's fact, which is a component of truth. But there's another element and another dimension of truth, and we also engage reality not only with the five senses, but also spiritual lens. My spiritual lens is a Christian lens, a Christocentric lens. And for me, truth is the embodiment of Christ. It's a person. So there's a factual element of what is verifiable. And then I add another layer, another lens through which I view reality. And that's my Christocentric lens. That for me constitutes elements of truth, right? And how the philosophers will tell us how we gain information is how what we experience, but also we gain information and truth from others. But we sift through those. We sift the information we gain or the experiences of others and whether they match our own experiences or not. So it's a deep question that you've asked us to engage in. And I just want to put some of the things there from on the table. The factual dimension, they also are the lens through which we view reality, and we assess what is truth as against our own North Star or sense of values also, right? So that's my take on it, and I'm happy for further conversations on it with you.
Okay, because I always, all through my life, question what is truth. Now, I'm not talking about if I see you in a red shirt or red dress, and I know if that's red, well, I take it as red or whatever. But I always find it difficult to say the truth. Like how you say you pick out the rice, in the rice, when your parents will sift in the rice, at least you see the black things to sift, right, to go through. You know, so I always wonder about truth, and I was listening to you and saying, but what is truth? Because your truth might be my life.
Question if you've asked and inviting us to think through, you know. Thanks for that. Yeah. Thanks for that. And please join us on the forum now. Go on my website and register for our MadonnaDoyle.com and register.
Very good. Thank you.
And thank you for provoking that conversation about thinking around truth and many other values, Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, my lady.
Thank you too.
All right, I wanted to show this video.
Okay. I see it's
based on the conversation. I just wanted to show this video.
Okay.
All right.
I'm voting for the man that's going to take America back, baby. Donald J. Trump, man.
What's one of your biggest issues?
Probably going to be inflation, because I sell T-shirts and all that stuff.
Your T-shirts are made in the USA?
No, my blanks, no. See, that's the thing Trump's talking about. If we tax them, hit tariffs, the same item they're making over there will cost the same to make over here.
We pay the tariffs.
Well, the companies pay the tariffs, not us.
China doesn't pay the tariffs. We do when they come in.
No, it doesn't work like that.
Like if I'm buying 1,000 shirts from China and there's a tariff on it, I'm paying the tariff.
Well, no, whoever's getting it imported in is going to pay the tariffs.
Yeah. I'm the business owner. I'm paying the tariff. China doesn't pay it. I pay for it.
Well,
like if I'm the business owner and I buy 1,000 shirts.
I see what you're saying.
China's not Jolly. So I'm trying to explain.
Who pays the tariff? They're paying the tariff.
Do you think that? Do you believe that?
Because I was trying to say, because I sell merch as well.
I sell you something for $10, right? You're going to sell it to him for $20.
Exactly.
But then I make you pay me $15 for it. Are you still going to sell it to him for $20?
Am I going to sell it to him for $20?
If I raise the price $5.
Oh, it's going to have to go up.
Right. So
yeah, the consumer foots the bill.
Have a good day.
And the caller before, when he was talking about the appeal, and again, listen, here's my take on this. We all have our political leanings, but beyond the political leanings, there are some values. The last caller invited us to consider what is truth, but there are some fundamental values by which a society ought to function. And if a society needs to continue, and if we need to leave a legacy for a next generation, there are some foundational values, the bedrock values. There's a verse in scripture, in the biblical scripture, that says, if the foundations are destroyed, what will the righteous do? And we have now an opportunity, and that's, if I can leave you with this thing about sifting through, about discerning, throwing away the chaff from the wheat, sifting the rice in the information that we are being bombarded with, and considering what legacy am I leaving for my children? How do I want to run my business? How do I want to run my life? And the election of U.S. President Donald Trump is a wonderful opportunity for us to reflect and think and sift, right? For the sake of our personal well-being, our business success and continuity, and for our legacy, personal legacy and national continuity, right? If I could get us to understand the times that we're living in, and this is what we call a Kairos moment for us to engage in some reflection. It is easy to have knee-jerk reactions to the election, to the U.S. president, and so on. But I'm inviting us to reflect. How about that? You have a caller? Hi, caller.
Good morning.
Blessed morning.
Morning, Pastor. You as well, Pastor.
Hi, good morning.
Very interesting conversation you all have there.
Thank you, sir.
Most interesting. Especially, I like the part where you mentioned about the guy talked about the video Pastor was playing there, where it's really he will be paid. And probably didn't get that concept as yet.
Yes.
Right? And then you talk about truth, and then you bring in the US president-elect, right? Yes, he may have an appeal, but what would be remembered? What kind of example would be set? If someone haven't done this, done all that has transpired with what he has done, right? And still, he's been elected to the halls of power. What kind of example is that setting for the younger ones to come? Truth. I always have a saying, truth is eternal, good, bad, or indifferent. And history will remember this. Not favorably. I don't think so. Anyway, that is just my piece.
Yeah.
Right? Locked on listening.
Yeah.
Good program as usual.
Yes. Thank you so very much, caller. And he posed that question, what example is being set for the young people? You know, what example, and because I have young children, they're young adults, and I try to engage them in some conversations. They're into their own world, you know, they have their own friends and they do it. So I would ask him about how do we as adults communicate our wisdom to your generation? What? Because they don't listen to radio. You know, their world is different. And in this year, no, they don't engage in politics too much. But this point that the caller has raised is something I am concerned about. As a media practitioner, as a parent, as a Christian, what legacy we're leaving and how do we communicate our wisdom in ways that the young people would accept or hold on to, and they would remember. One of the things, you know, I was sharing with my son, listen, if you're sick, you have to take medicine. I don't care how the medicine tastes, you got to take it. So wisdom is like that. I could pretty it up, but you've got to take it. And I think, and for us and for them, they model the behavior. I look at both of them, and the behaviors that they see at home, I could see them. So up close and personal, we have a responsibility to be gatekeepers, as it were. So they're being bombarded with the disinformation and so on. But in the home, you really need to live off the values that we want to see in the next generation. In our churches, where we gather, we need to live out the values that we want to see for the next generation of the church, of the community, of the home, of the school. And that's where I've reached so far. And I come back to the need for discerning, for reflecting, for distilling. Take the wheat, throw away the chaff. And I think this is an inflection point in human history. The caller was right. It is an inflection in human civilization. The things that we taught the next generation to allow for continuity, we taught about truth and honesty and fair and hard work and the rewards of hard work. And we are seeing that is not holding. The center is not holding. Things are falling apart. And therefore the need for us to reflect, to sift, to dissect, and to be the guardrails for our community and society. A caller.
Good morning, Pastor Gugan, Dr. Madonna.
Good morning.
Yes. You know, I'm listening to you and the caller, and I'm saying, it's up us how we choose to believe, how we choose to accept. Who do we believe, or what do we believe? Is it because we feel comfortable at the present time, because we make decisions based on the present, whether it's for the future or what had happened in the past, which we will analyze. But who do we believe, or what information? Because we can see now that the younger generation or younger children, some of them, not all, choose to believe their friend or be with their friend other than their family or their relatives, because somehow they have so much good going on at home or with their family, but somehow they feel more comfortable outside of it. So we choose to believe, and if Donald Trump said that, and sometimes we know it's a lie, but we still want to feel comfort with what we hear. Thank you.
That's a big piece you share there. And you said, is it that we are comfortable? And that comfortable, I want to make it very elastic, economically comfortable, psychologically comfortable, emotionally, because a couple of callers before was talking about that emotional appeal. And also because we really want to hand over our thinking ability to others who, for their own agenda that perhaps have nothing to do with us, would capitalize on our gullibility, our ignorance, and use it to their advantage, right? Because we fail to think, we fail to engage wisdom, as a caller earlier on was saying, our God-given wisdom, and because it's from all sides, so you feel overwhelmed by the amount of information, and many people surrender, and they don't engage their minds and heart and some core values. Hi, caller. Good morning, thanks.
And thank you for saying that we have rendered our ability to think someone else.
Yeah.
And by giving that up, puts us somewhat in a hell of a position. The whole world is sitting down and wondering what is the world going to be transformed within the next 4 years, you know?
Yep.
Enjoy your morning, ma'am, and thank you.
Before you leave, I want to just show you something somebody sent to me. And I shouldn't say somebody. My son brought this to my attention. I should not have said somebody. My son brought this to my attention, and a friend of mine sent it to me, and I was surprised that my friend sent it to me after the fact that my son brought it to my attention. I wanted to
How to be a critical thinker. Oh, right. I see the source. BBC Learning English. That's important to tell the source. That's part of... Yeah.
It's a ball. To turn it quickly is to spin it. Now, if we put the truth on this ball, then spin it, can you still see the truth? It's still there somewhere, but difficult to see clearly. Spin makes the truth difficult to see. And this is a bit like political spin, a term first used in the 1970s to talk about the way politicians and their spokespeople present information. They will present information in a way that makes things seem as positive as possible without always telling you the whole truth or the whole context.
Well said. Well said.
Our time is going. But I'm going to play it today. For the listeners and the callers and everybody who is on, I'm going to play that video today.
Yeah.
And if you want to understand it, come on the live. But you see the importance before we leave is that people are anyway,
they've abandoned. People have abandoned. A lot of people have abandoned their God-given ability to think to others. But we're wrapping up here, and I want to tell you, listeners, that this is the last time you're going to be hearing me on this show. I'm preparing for something big. I'll let you know about it, but I have to sort of take a step back and prepare for my next big move. So you'll not be hearing from me on Words Matter in this format as we go forward. Thank you for your love and your companionship. Bye-bye.
If you want greater respect from your bankers, bosses, those in authority, then words matter. If you want more productive business relationships with co-workers, customers, or clients, then join Dr. Madonna on the street, 919 FM, every Monday, 11 a.m. to 12 noon for Words Matter. Communication for joyful workplaces. Dr. Madonna will help you unlock the secret power of words for your financial, relationship, and physical well-being. Whether you work at home, on the road, or in an organization, join Dr. Madonna every Monday, 11 a.m. to 12 noon for Words Matter. Communication for joyful workplaces.
You've got bills to pay, and so do we. Let's go pay some bills on the street 919 FM.
Okay, Rudolph, make a right, then... Oh, hold on.